This is the Black TV Show podcast hosted by Miriam Temeskin. Welcome back to the podcast, and in this episode, we're talking about a storyline that should not be on a show that's about college. Welcome to episode 87, A Different World, season 1, episode 7. Sometimes you get the bear, sometimes the bear gets you. What? What kind of title to an episode is this? First of all, this episode title is too long. I thought this was a typo when I wrote it in my schedule, and then I went to Google and it was like, no, this is correct. Okay, whatever. And then this episode aired November 19th, 1987. This probably also aired on the same day as the Cosby Show episode. I just didn't check on that, so I apologize for that. This episode is, the synopsis for this episode is Denise worries that her grandfather, Earle Hyman, who plays Russell Huxtable, will discover she is involved in a homecoming prank. First of all, why is this an episode? This is now the second episode in a row that involves a family member from the Cosby Show. Remember last week we had Rudy that came in, and it was the Rudy and the Snow Queen. Now we have Russell. You know, I love them, but there's no place for them on this show because this show is about college life. This is not really about having your family come and visit you. Throughout the series, we will have a lot of family members, not only from Denise, but, from other people like Jaleesa, her sister, will be on the episode. When we meet Kim, her father will be coming onto the show. Freddie, when we meet her also, her mom will be coming on to the show, and same with Ron, his father will be on the show. So there will be family members, but the family members that come to enhance that character in a way that you get to see a different side of them when they're around their parents. Russell is a grandfather, so it's like less likely that your grandfather would come. I understand he's an alumni from Hillman, but it's just the way that this episode, it's all about stealing a bear head, and the fact that Russell wants to steal the bear head because he wasn't able to do it in 1935, which I told you guys on the Hillman episode on the Cosby Show, that the math with that 1937 does not make sense with his age. I don't understand, what was going on in the writer's room. They probably were like, oh, we need to bring familiar faces from the Cosby Show. But no, you don't. You'll see once we get to season 2, we don't need to bring a whole bunch of family members. Because I feel like every person that was on the show after season 1 had family members come on. Of course, we had Whitley's parents come on in season 1 and in all other seasons, and we also had Dwayne's parents come on, but they're in a way that their parents are enhancing themselves, because you get to see a bit of what is life like outside of college. But it's just I don't know if it's making sense to you guys, but it's just it frustrated me that why would you bring your kid sister to college? Why? Especially when you live in a dorm room. It's one thing if you live somewhere else and you were like, oh, let's bring my sister to the campus. It's okay. But it's just with the writers, they should more focus on the issues of college life, in terms of the college student life, because this show is centered around college. The Cosby Show is centered around family life at home. It's not like a lot of other sitcoms that we watch is not necessarily involving just the family. They involve other outside sources to come in, and it's a show. The Cosby Show, I consider a show about family life. That's literally what it is, because a lot of their scenes are in the home, and so a lot of the storyline has to do with family life, which makes sense because that's what the show is all about. And it's great to have the grandparents come in because that's another generation that you get to learn from about what was it like in the past in our family. And then when they have more children, like with Sandra, who will eventually have twins, that brings in a new generation for the future generation, basically. So, but the thing is, I don't like the fact that they're bringing the family members to Hillman when it's just a normal school day. Like, you know, the Hillman episode that we had on the Cosby Show finale for season 3, that's okay. Like, if their family, because it was like a celebration. But in the middle of, you know, the school time, no. Okay, like, let Denise study. Okay, she ain't doing that great in school. Okay, we all know that. It is homecoming time, which, you know, we had homecoming at our university, but I never attended any of like the parties because like homecoming in Canada is not, I feel like it's not as big deal as it is in the US. So I just never went to this, you know, the parties and stuff like that. And so Whitley and Maggie, they're putting up the decoration. They must be on the decoration committee. I don't know. And Ron comes in with his one scene of the episode. It's so sad. Because if you've never seen the show, Ron, he will become one of the main cast. And he has a lot of big scenes in the future seasons. But it's weird to see him as, like, he really is just like a side character of this season. Like, it's very strange for me. And so he comes and helps it set up, and he helps Maggie with blowing the balloons. And then Jaleesa comes and mentions that she has a solo at the Glee Club. First of all, okay, when do you call, you know, a group of people singing, when do you call them a choir? When I think of Glee Club, I think of like something else, because I was recently watching Saved by the Bell, and it was an episode about the Glee Club, and I'm like, when I heard the Glee Club, I was like, oh, they do geeky things and stuff like that, and then I realized, no, it's a club that sings. I was like, oh. By the way, I've never seen Glee, like the actual show, but it's, I don't know, in my mind, Glee Club doesn't sound like a singing group, but I'm just weird. My mind goes somewhere else sometimes with this. And then we find out Russell is coming to Hillman. Denise mentions that. And Maggie talks about the plan to steal the Dominion's bear head. You know, we've seen storylines like this on other shows. I've seen it. I can't recall of what shows have done this. But I thought this is more common, like, in like high school. Now that I think about it, there was an episode in the That's So Raven where they stole a goat, I think, if I'm correct. Like the other school's goat. I feel like this is more common in a high school than it is in a college. So I was just like confused why this was, yet again, I'm just confused by the storyline right now. It does not make any sense. I don't even know what to say. But let's move on. And so Sinbad I said Sinbad. Coach Walter Oakes comes. I'm so used to calling him Sinbad. You know, before A Different World, I was more into his other show called The Sinbad Show. Here in Canada, it was on a channel called Family Channel. Family Channel had the combination of Disney and Nickelodeon all in one channel, and they had The Sinbad Show on reruns. I didn't realize The Sinbad Show was only one season, because the amount of times we watched it on rerun, it felt like it was like multiple seasons. But that's why I'm more familiar by saying Sinbad than it is Culture Walter Oakes, because this show, in my mind, came after the Sinbad Show, because I watched the Sinbad Show first. And so he comes and says they did a great job doing the decorations, and Jaleesa calls him Coach, which is so weird to say, because sooner or later, they're going to be a couple. They're going to be dating. So it's like weird the way the dynamic they are right now, because it's going to change. And so we are at Gilbert Hall, and Russell comes in looking for Denise, and he has a friend with him, Dr. I think it's Dr. Carnald Overby? Is that how you say his name? I don't know. He's a doctor, but that's all I can figure that out. And he's looking for Denise, and Stevie's there, and she thinks he's Denise's father, and he's like, no, 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 no. And his friend laughs. He's like, no, I'm her grandfather. And so then Russell asks Stevie, how is her studying coming along? Why are you asking her the grades? I don't understand. It's not Stevie's place to tell you Denise's grades. Like, that's a little weird. There was a lot of questionable things in this episode, by the way. Just like, what? You do not ask a random person about your child's grades. First of all, this is not even his child. This is probably Cliff's role of asking grades, not Russell. Why is Russell asking Stevie about Denise's grades? That's not right. And, at this point in this episode, I was questioning, why is this an episode? Why is the grandparents here at college? This is not what a show about college life should be about. And so Denise comes in, and Russell says, oh, you've lost weight. Well, he didn't say it like that. He said, oh, have you not been eating? But you could tell he's saying, you've lost weight. Why? That's another questionable thing. I was just like, no, don't say that about your grandchild, okay? And then Maggie and Jaleesa come and meet Russell, and then also Dwayne with his bird head because he's the mascot for Hillman. First of all, I don't even know if that's going to be the mascot for the rest of the series. I'm forgetting here, but I don't know if there is another mascot for Hillman. But it's definitely not this bird because I did not recognize this as a mascot. And it also is just an ugly mascot. Sorry. And then Dwayne acts very weird around Russell because Russell is Denise's grandfather. So he like, oh, you're the man that created Denise. I'm like, they really are making Dwayne such a weird person. In season 1, he becomes more like grown up in season 2. I'm gonna keep saying that. It's just the way that they're making Dwayne be like, he's like a little child, and it's just, I don't like it. We need Debbie Allen I wish she was there for start off season 1, but what can we do? And so Dwayne leaves, and Russell asks Denise in front of everyone what her grades are like. And like, yet again, wrong place, wrong time to ask her about this. This is not, like nowadays that would be so wrong to do because it's like each person's grades is an individual person. Like nobody else is allowed to know what your grades are. And it's just, I don't know. It's just, I'm a little frustrated by this episode. So I apologize for my negativity. I'm trying to be as positive as I can, but it's a little hard. And so he leaves, and then Maggie was like, what's the plan about stealing the bear head? And Denise was like saying, I don't want to do it with that, especially with my grandfather here, He's expecting me to be as, basically a perfect person that lives up to be with the Huxtable name, basically. And then the camera cuts to being at the pit where Russell says he plans to steal the bear head because he didn't get to do it when he was in college back in 1935, okay? Why is this an episode? I literally wrote that in my notes. Why is this an episode? I don't know, okay? I'm just like, these writers. I was about to think, I was like, maybe I should look into who the writers of this episode is, but I don't want to say anything too bad about their names. Maybe they were just controlled by the producers in terms of the storyline. It's not all their fault, so I can't just say that it's their fault. So, by the way, when I looked at the pit, where Russell is sitting, he's outside. It's actually so much bigger. In future seasons, it's just gonna be like a staircase and like a few, two tables. But in this, it looked like there was like multiple of tables. So the way that they made the outside of the pit, it looks like such a bigger area compared to the future seasons. And so we're in Act 2, and Maggie tells Denise to help steal the bear head, and Denise doesn't want to because she doesn't want Russell to hear about it. And then Whitley comes and asks to get her dress zip. This is the issue, Whitley. If you had a roommate, you would have a roommate to do it for you instead of coming into someone else's room to get it zipped up for you. And so then Maggie asks Whitley, do you know when the mascot will be here from the other school? And Whitley's like, I'm not going to tell. That's confidential. And stealing the bear head is dumb. So they plan to go to Dwayne for help. But Russell and Dwayne are first talking about the stealing of the bear head. And when Russell leaves, the girls come and they ask Dwayne, can you help us tell us where the mascot will be? And Dwayne says no, and he doesn't want to say why because of Russell. And so Dwayne will tell them where the mascot is changing, and they will steal the bear head. Because basically the girls want to steal it because they hate when always the guys steal the bear head. They want, the girls to have the name to say that, like, oh, we stole the bear head this year. It's not only the guys, basically. That's like the sum of that, of why, the reasoning of why they're doing it. And and then so it's the evening and we're at the banquet, and like Russell's there with his friend. And by the way, I didn't mention earlier, I'm like all over the place with this episode because it's just messed up. But Russell's friend, who's the doctor, he is recently divorced, but he just acts really creepy in this episode. It's like horribly bad. Like it's he's just going all after the ladies. And I'll tell you when we get to the scene later on. It's, to me, it was the creepiest part of the show. So we'll get to that part. And Jaleesa is singing in the Glee Club, because she got her solo. And, Russell asked why Denise is not singing. And she was like, because I'm too busy doing my homework. I got to study. And so the bird makes noise, which is Dwayne. And so both Denise and Russell get up. But Stevie interrupts Russell and kind of made him sit down while Denise leaves and talks to Dwayne. And so then Denise finds out they're going to be at the storage room. And so So then Dwayne goes and meets, not meets Denise, but he gets there ahead of time before her. And we run into Steve and, is it Derek, I believe his name is? Let me check that. Yeah, Steve and Derek, who are like, it seems like they're like the bodyguards, basically. And, Dwayne is just figuring out ways to get them away from the door. They're trying to block the door so that they don't get the the bear head for the Dominion. I think it's a school. Dominion is supposed to be a school. We never hear of this school ever again, by the way. So like everything about this, sorry, I'm just putting so much negativity to this episode. So I apologize again. I'm sorry. And so then Denise comes, and I like how that their names become, Bobby and Ginger, like because Dwayne's jacket says Bobby, so with his name's Bobby now. And Denise decides to call, or Dwayne decides to call Denise Ginger. And finally, the guys move and they leave because Denise says that their coach is looking for them, basically. And so then Denise goes into the room, and then Russell comes follow, and like at first Dwayne says, you don't need to go in there, don't go in there. And then he's like, no, I gotta go in there. And so he goes in there, and Russell and Denise run into each other. First of all, in terms of getting this bear head, why was it Denise? Maggie was the one who was pushing for this constantly. So why is Maggie not the one going to the storage room and Denise just chill out with her grandfather? What? You know what I mean? Like, it's just... But I understand this is part of the storyline. Sometimes you're like, this doesn't make sense. It could have gone this way. But I understand the writers, you want to make it juicy with this episode. Okay. But it just didn't make sense at all. It would be a different story if Denise was like gun-ho and be like, yes, we're going to get the bear head. And then that would be a different story. But that was not the case. And so, Denise tells the truth and says, she's stealing the bear head. And also Russell tells the truth, saying that he wanted to steal the bear head when he was here, but he wasn't able to. And Russell tells Denise when he hears, and so Russell points out that, he's proud of Denise, because Denise always is like worried about like, oh, you guys are always up bothering me with my grades and stuff. And so, she's just trying to be this like perfect person for her family, because it just seems that everyone in her family are perfect. And it seems like it sometimes, right? So she didn't want to make any mistakes and stuff. And Russell mentions that he is proud of her. And Russell and Denise go back to the banquet. And at this point, we know that they have stolen the bear head, because of the way Denise looks at Maggie and at Jaleesa, because they both look happy after seeing eye to eye. And then at this point, Russell's friend is sitting next to Stevie and like creepily looking at her, which I don't think that's a word, what I just said, but it looks so creepy. And that's so wrong on so many levels. The fact that producers and writers were allowed to let this slide. If you admire someone, you tell them that. You just don't just randomly stare and get close to that person. That's just gross, disrespectful, all kinds of other words that I don't want to say. But Steve is just like not into it. It's just like we realize Stevie's a divorcee also, which she mentions in this episode that she got a divorce. But she doesn't want to be with this old dude. This guy is like, I don't know, like 40 years older than her probably, or something like that, or something to that effect. So she doesn't want to be with this older man, okay? So it was bad. And we see Jaleesa have her solo, and the other mascot comes to Dwayne, and Dwayne's now dressed up in his bird suit. And because the head is gone, the mascot starts chasing him around, and they all leave. Dwayne and the guy that's wearing the bear suit leave the banquet, and then the night is over, and we're in Whitley's room, and she is sleeping. But then she noticed something is at the end of her bed, and so she opens the covers, and she sees the bear head, and she screams. It was very loud, and we end the episode right there. And so we had quite a lot of guest stars. We had Earle Hyman as Russell, Arthur Adams, the creepy guy. I don't think he's a creepy guy probably in real life, but in this episode he really acted creepy as Dr. Cornell Overby. He has been in the Bill Cosby Show, Stanford, Amen, Coming to America, but he did pass away in 1992 at the age of 76. Of course, we had Sinbad as Coach Walter Oakes. It's weird to say that he's a guest star, but that's literally what it says in the credits. So eventually, once we get to season 2, I won't need to be constantly calling his name out. Darryl Bell as Ron, also. That's the 2 people. We have Mark Clayman as Steve. He's in 13 other credits. And we have Dwayne Davis as Derek. He was in What's Happening Now, and he's in 46 other credits. Those are the 2 guys that were blocking the door of the Dominion's Bearhead. And so I feel like the lesson for this episode is don't let your family interfere with the decisions of things that you want to do and make. I on this hand, I understand, Denise. Denise was like, I can't get the bear head because I'm scared of what will happen if, my family find out. I understand. It's like, I probably have mentioned this. I didn't go to school to go to film. I work now in film, but I went to school for science because I was told to be in science. I think my passions as a child was to be a dancer. I wanted to dance, behind Destiny's Child at the time. I guess now it would be Beyonce or Kelly or Michelle individually. But I wanted to be a dancer. That was the dream. But I was told that I would never succeed in that. And so that self-esteem of being like, I can't do the things I want to do. I have to do things because in order to be perfect so I could make everyone else happy. Everyone else happy except for my happiness was more important. That was the message I got as a young child. And so that's why I went into science, because I was told that, medicine, it was my only career path. There was no other career path for me, even though there was no doctors in my whole family. So it's just like the expectation of me being a doctor was just, it didn't make sense. And eventually I broke down and being like, I gotta live for myself. I gotta live my dreams. And so we can't let our family stop us from doing what we want to do with our lives, or the decisions we want to make in our lives. And I feel like that was the lesson from this episode, even though this episode was a stupid episode, okay? That I get from this episode, okay? And the question I have for you guys is, what decisions or life-changing opportunities did you have that was kind of affected by what your family would think or judge you based on the decision or opportunity? I want to hear from you. As I told you, I went into science as because I thought that was what I thought would make everyone happy except for myself. So I want to hear from you guys at Twitter and Instagram using we're going to use this hashtag. You ready to hear what this hashtag is? Hashtag season 1 sucks and hashtag we need Debbie Allen, because I constantly said how bad this episode was. So we're going to say that. And so let me know at Twitter and Instagram. And I want to hear your response. I would love to hear what, especially in the Black community, we constantly have this pressure from our family to be held at a high standard, because that's just how we are as Black people. We need to be 10 times better than, the other, especially the white people, I would say. But we have to be way better than everyone else. And so I want to hear from you guys. I would love to hear at Twitter and Instagram at Black TV Shows Pod using the hashtag season 1 sucks and we need Debbie Allen, okay? And the next episode is episode 88, The Cosby Show, season 4, episode 7, Autumn's Gifts. And I will see you all on the next one.